Okay, folks, we'll make a start at 7 o'clock. Welcome everyone. The library plans were circulated. I think everyone's had a chance to look at them. I'll come back to this in an item. I haven't seen them. Okay, that's fine, thank you. Public question time. We obviously don't have any members of the public here. We are expecting Susan Greenwood later on in the meeting to come from Kirklees Youth Alliance, so we'll deal with that at the time. Recording. Council meetings can now be recorded. Does anyone else? It is being recorded, of course, as normal, and go out on the YouTube. Anyway. Does anybody else wish to record this meeting? Thank you. Apologies for absence, Clark.
So these were sent out from Councillor Bellamy and Councillor Blacker. Councillor Firth still got his dispensation in place. He was hoping to attend, but he's not feeling so well today, so he won't be able to. But Councillor Firth's news is he has been invited to a Royal Garden party. And he's told me I can tell people that. I think he's thrilled. So there we go.
Can we send from the whole council a card to the leader, to Mary?
I've got one. I've got a card. It will go out in the post tomorrow.
Thank you. Is that okay? Yeah.
Yeah. So you need to vote to
Right.
accept the apologies and
We accept the apologies? Yeah. All in favour? Thank you. Members and officers' personal and disclosable pecuniary interest in any items on the agenda. In other words, are you likely to, you or someone close to you likely to gain personally from any item that's on the agenda? No? Nothing. Thank you.
That's fine.
Moving on. Any forms received?
None to consider.
Okay. Items on the agenda to be discussed in private session. I'm going to suggest two items that are on this agenda that I'm suggesting are in private session, and I'm also suggesting that the two are brought together consecutively, which is just slightly out of the current order. So one of them is item 80 on the agenda, which regards the planned contracted work on the public toilets on the floor, where obviously we're looking at quotes and so on. And the second one is about the tenancy at the Gartside unit. Again, potentially some commercial interest in that. Is everyone okay with that?
Vote on it.
Thank you. And as I said, we will hear, in terms of the order of the agenda, we know that Susan Greenwood had another meeting to go to before this, so we'll deal with her item at pretty much around the point that she arrives. Yeah. Okay, item 73, minutes of the previous Service Provision Committee meeting, which was last November. You've all had a chance to see the minutes of that meeting. It came out with the papers. Are they approved?
They're already approved, yes.
Already
So just
approved,
noting them.
We're just noting on this. We're noting. Noting.
Lovely.
And to receive information from the clerk regarding some items, matters arising from those.
Okay, so with regard to the Hungerford Food and Drink Festival, regarding toilets and the discussions we had about the state the public toilets were left in. So I've had contact with the Food and Drink Festival. Profuse apologies have been received for the state of the toilets, particularly apologies being conveyed to our contractor in Cleaner. So that's good. And I can also report that the festival will be trialling Portaloos in 2024. They intend to then review their use for 2025, and they will ask the parish council for feedback. So that I think is resolved.
Thank you.
And then to talk about the Hungerford Public Toilets donations box, it is on my list and I will return to it when I'm back in the spring, early summer. I'm sure this will come up, is one of the later items as well. And what I intend to do is to have proposals ready for the meeting on the 8th of July. War Memorial. So a pre-application has been submitted to the War Memorials Trust. If you go on to War Memorials online, you'll probably see that I've updated about the condition of the War Memorial. I will chase up what's happened to that pre-application because I've not heard back as to whether or not it's worth putting in an application to the War Memorials Trust for the money for the repairs. I've also had contact from the Reverend Keith Griffin. Really, I think the reliance is on Home Valley Parish Council to remedy this if we can. So let's see whether or not we can get a grant for the War Memorials Trust. So that's the progress that's been made on that so far. And then the sharps bin outside Hungerford Public Toilets. I know I put on an attachment and I have had a response from Councillor Davis, who is going to liaise with relevant officers on behalf of the council to see what can be done about this. And then regarding the civic valuation, that went ahead on the 14th of December, and the buildings insurance reinstatement figure is £9,750,000.
That's to rebuild,
That's to rebuild.
not what you would get if you tried to sell it, which is about 10 pence. Well, if you were building it as it is.
Well, you wouldn't,
it would
though,
be
would
all
you?
right.
I don't know about it at the moment.
You would.
And that's all the matters arising.
Thank you very much, cheers. Any questions about any?
Should we
any of
ever
those
need to
items?
borrow like Donald Trump does?
Yeah, we could put it up as
We've got
well.
an asset.
Well,
Yeah.
you don't let me know.
If we're like Donald Trump though, we're worth 20 million, wouldn't we?
Yeah, that's right. Or 40.
I'm not aware whether there's anything else. So all this budgetary stuff, isn't there? Oh no, that comes next. Nothing else particularly from those minutes. Nothing else anyone else wants to raise from the minutes of that previous meeting. So we're moving on to next item 74, which is the budget. And regarding the earmarked reserves, this is budget for this past year, currently just about to end. Final decisions about some community assets and projects. You've had an opportunity to, well, hopefully you've had an opportunity to look at the papers that were distributed, prepared by the Deputy Clerk. Is there anything anyone wants to ask that I can actually answer?
Well, I can certainly report that the two documents you've got are the budget year to date and then also the projected budget at the year end. You'll see that there are some budgets which are overspent. As a committee, one of your jobs is to scrutinise that and just be aware of where you've got overspent and underspends. All of the overspends are budget lines which have been previously discussed. So there's nothing there which is new news. Okay, that they're all things you were previously aware of. Just to bring your attention to budget line 4725, the patient transport scheme. We have, I know Rich has and I have chased the Home Valley Patient Transport Scheme to see about them giving in a grant application, but we have had no application, and that's why we've still got the 1,000 in that budget. At the moment, Rich has assumed that an application would come in, and so it's standing at naught for the projected budget lines to year end, but we don't quite know what's going to happen to that because they've not applied for the money.
Was there something? Sorry, question. Was there something about an evaluation was due?
They've not
from
got
them
an
as well?
evaluation back to us either, no.
No.
So they have had correspondence from Rich about this last week, was the latest, and we've still not heard anything. The 11,000 in 4760, the Youth Working Home Valley, as you know, that's been discussed fully at full council as well. And where we have underspends, they were factored in to your 2024-25 budget discussions and decision making. So just be aware of that. And just to draw your attention to the notes that Rich has made on the projected budget lines to year end. And if anyone's got any questions about any of those, I'm happy to either answer them if I can, or refer them to Rich and ask him to email out any further information you need.
Yes.
On the patient transport, something similar than last year.
And the year before.
Yeah. And they didn't provide the information we asked for, and we weren't going to give them money. And then I think, I don't know if they wrote or they contacted Councillor Greaves and emailed representations and we agreed to do it. I also thought it was one of the things we were considering putting onto a rolling contract so that they, and
Yes.
I don't know
And
if they were left with that
them as well.
understanding last time or what.
I contacted them about a rolling grant back in August, and I've never had a reply.
Yeah.
I've contacted them since, and obviously they were contacted in this grant round as well. And we've neither had an evaluation for last year, nor response to the idea of a rolling grant or an application for a grant for this year. So,
Did you want to express any opinion on this at all?
It seems to me that they just expect to get the money, whether they provide us with the information or not. So
And in the past, they've had the money, whether they...
yeah.
Councillor Dixon.
Yeah, it's been ongoing this for the donkey's years, like talking about 10 years where they've not been very good at coming forward with communication, or if we've asked them to come in and give us a report, it's been like pulling teeth at times sometimes, but they normally come in at the last minute and ask us for something, so I still expect that they might come back to us, unless anybody's heard that it stopped going. But once it has, it stopped going, and no matter why I'm not hearing anything back, but if it is still going, I do expect we'll hear something back sooner or later.
I think we're right in thinking it's part funded from elsewhere, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's 2 or 3
We don't
sources.
fund the whole thing.
No. Do people, I mean, given that we might have to make a decision between meetings on this, sorry, Councillor Clark. Sorry.
Given that we've, certainly in F&M, and there's a group of us looking at grants and who can and can't be considering them and stuff, and we're talking about not giving grants to people who haven't provided evidence on a previous one. This is a bad one to take as an example, because it's not something we want to stop the funding from, is it? I'm not, I mean, I guess we're sort of stuck with giving them the money, whether they provide evidence or not, really, you know.
But do need an application still.
I don't agree with that.
I mean, I think it's wrong, but do we actually, of all the examples we could make, it's the one we would have picked least, I think, to make an example of. But what do we feel about just saying, sorry, you don't get the money till you...
And showing a degree of consistency as well,
Yeah.
perhaps across the others.
The problem is, isn't it, that these people presumably are volunteers who are going around and picking up folk and taking them to hospital, no?
No.
Is that not it?
So drivers are employed in that part, the grant goes to pay part of that wage.
Like that's towards maintenance of the car in the past, because they've had to buy new cars or had done some work to the vehicle that they have. So they have given us details before, like the numbers of people that they've taken and all things like that, and they are really crucial to certain people who do use the scheme.
Yeah.
So it's the most vulnerable people that do need it and use it, so it's really important. So I agree with what Pat said. It's like if we're wanting to do a stop at grant because we're not getting the information in it, it's something like an event or something that wasn't
The
really
food and drink
important.
festival.
But this is really important for people that do use it. And when they do come down like cap in hand, it's when they're short on funds and things like that, so it's quite infuriating.
That's a great.
But I'm pretty sure that the doctors in Holland wouldn't end the service if we stopped giving them the £1,000 or whatever it is.
I don't know.
They would have to fund it out of their own pocket, wouldn't they?
Don't know.
Is this something that could be delayed? Because it's not like an event, like a food and drink festival that comes and goes. Could it be a sort of, yes, you can have the grants, but we need this
Yeah.
paperwork done?
You'll get the money when we get the paper.
So we're not saying no, but that might just stir them on a little bit.
So when we come to the grants item, you could have a motion which approves the grant, dependent on the paperwork being received. So you could do that. I think that the £1,000 is quite a small contribution to the wage that they actually pay out. I mean, the service definitely runs. The service definitely runs, and clearly some people rely on it.
Can I just ask you a bit more about what this involves? Are these minibuses or are these cars that
It's a car, it's branded, so one of the car companies donates the car and it's on the side and it says, what does it say? Hunt Valley.
But it's a special driver as well. The driver is able to help the people into the cars and things like that.
Yeah.
So it's people who probably physically wouldn't be able to get to an appointment unless they had someone to pick them up.
Yeah.
And
where do they get taken to?
well, it's supposed to be available for the Home Valley Hospital and also the Homley Surgery as well. But I think,
Certainly
I
goes
think
to Homley Surgery, it's usually parked at Homley Surgery.
yeah, I get the impression that most of them are Homley people that use it, but it is available for the Home Valley as well. That's what I said to her before.
It was something that we discussed as well in the public transport working group to see, what other possibilities there might be. But I don't think there were any others shown at that point. And the access bus service, the mysterious access bus service that does exist, but actually will not give rides to taking journeys to NHS places.
And they wouldn't help people in and out.
No,
No.
sorry, I was just going to say that the driver actually helps them to a chair in the surgery. It's very disturbing. But who coordinates that?
Yeah.
Who do you write to? Because it's Home Valley, but I'm
It's based on Homley Surgery.
It's based on Homley Surgery.
Yeah, if
Is it
it's-
the manager at Homley Surgery?
I don't know.
The trustees and doctors and I think somebody else.
Right.
I don't know.
I just wanted to get a bond
Somebody.
between two stools, and nobody knew who was supposed to be doing it.
There must be a manager, it's a big surgery, there has to be a
There'll be
manager,
a
even if
business
they're not
manager
full
or something
time.
there, won't there?
Okay, to reach some kind of conclusion on this, can I suggest that we, for the moment, we don't have to do any more other than note in terms of that particular part of the budget, but we can come back to it, as you said, just a little bit later when we look at grant approvals and so on.
But it should go to a rolling contract, because everybody around the table has agreed that it's something that we want to subsidize.
Yes.
So why do they have to keep flying every year?
They wouldn't, but they do have to, well, even on the rolling contract, they
Give us a-
still need to get an evaluation. So, and then the rolling contract that was sent, we considered this back in September. It's a sort of simplified, it's not a simplified grant pro forma, but they only have to do that the once. And this,
It's not an automatic check, but it is to reduce the
They
bureaucracy.
have to submit updated financial records to show they're still a going concern, properly run. And that's about it, and what they've done. But they don't have to go through the whole application explaining why they need it and what it's for and all of that every time.
Okay, I think we've probably done, we've certainly had a wide-ranging conversation about it. I think we've said enough about it at the moment, is it?
I just want, would a visit by someone to the Homley Surgery just to nudge them?
Well, I mean, Councillor Greaves seems to be in touch with this scheme in particular. I don't know when he last, had personal
I mean,
contact.
if he knows them, would it help if Councillor Greaves just popped in to sort of say, look, fill this form in and just to, as you say, it might have fallen between two stools.
I'm guessing that Rich might well have had that kind of conversation with him, but I don't know.
Right.
Actually.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Anything else to pick up from the budget?
Not if there were no, there's certainly nothing from my point of view as a clerk that you need to consider further.
I know that we did take into account a couple of areas where there were small overspends in terms of adjusting the budget for next year as well, to be more realistic. So that's noted. We don't need to do anything else for that at the moment. Item 75, authorisation of regular expenditure. Clerk's report.
Yes, so this item comes up annually at this time of year. It's looking ahead really to processes in the next financial year, and it's just to make sure that we can pay our bills in a sort of coherent and timely way. So where we've got regular items of expenditure, many of which you can see are concerning payments to our contractor, but you've also got West Yorkshire Combined Authority regarding the minibus services. You've also had in the past Christmas provision. I know the whole issue over Christmas trees is being reviewed later, but it has been a regular expenditure in the past. So it's just making sure that we've got approval to spend on these items of expenditure.
Yes,
Happy to answer any
the
questions.
Christmas provision, as you say, and the New Mill Churchyard are both kind of under review as to how we deal with those. Any questions from anyone?
Sorry, I've got one. The maintenance of seats, that's just paying John Lloyd, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
not
John
extra.
John Ford, yeah, it's
John Ford,
just,
sorry.
yeah.
Yes, tennis player.
Get him if you want.
He's waiting.
I've got a question. How come the water and sewerage for Hunter Files is Scottish Water Business Stream and not Yorkshire Water?
Yes, I was fascinated.
I have no idea. I can,
Oh.
Yeah.
The Scottish business stream has taken over things which are more like businesses, not domestic use. So it is Yorkshire Water, because where I live, we're in that situation as well.
Right.
Okay, Scottish business stream. I can't
So it's
explain
just,
more than that.
it's a sub-company for business customers.
It's business customers.
Right.
So farms would pay.
Yeah.
them.
This one's a bit random.
I think it's a bit.
It's superior water that's flown in by helicopter. Very green.
So yeah, it is. It's because it's a business thing rather than a domestic use.
So we need to
approve, yeah.
note it and approve it,
Yeah.
noting that there are a couple of items in there that we'll review in our approach to the meeting. Okay, thank you. Seconded, all in favour? Okay. Grant applications. So item 76, now you've had insight of the application from the Honley Business Association regarding maintenance of the CCTV system there. The application is covered by the amount that's currently in the earmarked reserve for this. Do you want to say anything more?
Yeah, so this particular grant, it does come in every year, and Home Valley Parish Council contributed to the setting up of the Honley CCTV that's run by the Honley Business Association. And in terms of evaluations, the CCTV in Honley has certainly done a good job in helping the police handle some of the crimes that have been carried out there. There's no doubt about that.
And it'll be terror.
Exactly. So, I would ask you, in terms of looking at the motion, it may be that you want to make this a rolling grant, in which case we change the wording to say that it's an annual award to be made during the lifetime of this council. Councillor Bailey's carried out due diligence by looking at all the paperwork, the unredacted paperwork with me. There are a few anomalies about the application. It is on an old form, and there are a couple of things I will pick up with Honley Business Association in terms of future applications. But that's all I've got to say, really.
I propose we make it a rolling grant and approve it.
Seconded.
Yeah, I'm happy to second it. I was going to mention as well that previously when we've had a budget, we've given money out to Honley and Hunfer for the CCTV. So there's a CCTV system around Hunfer bus station and in the centre of Hunfer. But we haven't had anything through from them for a while. Yeah, and we've had issues with New Mill CCTV, which we provided money from before. It might just be worth, I don't know if you will be able to do this, Jen, but try and make contact with whoever it is in the home first who's involved with CCTV before, see if that needs maintained or anything spending on it. Because I've got concerns that if it's not getting maintained, then we might not be able to keep on with it.
I can reply to that.
Yeah.
So, as I understand it, all the different CCTV in Hunfer, including the New Mill one, isn't monitored, isn't being serviced, isn't being managed, basically. It used to be, as I understand it, Hunfer Business Association, as was, they were the people who received a grant from Home Valley Parish Council for setting up the Hunfer Business Association CCTV. But for whatever reason, that sort of wasn't maintained. Not the current Hunfer Business Association, which I know isn't called that, and which has been in operation for about a year. The one before that sort of imploded somewhat. I did go along to a meeting and said, you know, there is that money there in an EMR. If you want to apply, it's there. But what I can do is contact Hunfer Forward, or was there another one as well?
Hunfer Forward is the place.
Just to point out that, you know, this is an earmark reserve that the council has, in that, you know, the door is still open.
Yeah, cause it might be worth seeing, it's not for us really, but not for them to try and see if they can resurrect the old scheme and get it back working. I think it might be fitted by System Vision,
That's right.
can't remember what the chap's called involved there. He used to come to meetings with us and things like that. And yeah, so that was done, but then I don't know what, the police must have got access to it. Well, I don't know what's happened, but they could have really done with it this weekend by the sounds of things.
Yeah, I was going to say,
It's bad that it's good that Honley are keeping up with it. It's
Yes,
really
it
good.
is.
We should continue to
Yes,
support
yeah,
them.
we should be doing the
But
same.
the home first, whoever who's involved with it, it's been let slip and it needs to get brought back. Really.
Yeah, so it's O'Brien's were system.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So this I think is a big issue, because when I went along to the business association, it's probably 2 years ago now, there wasn't a consensus about Home First Business Association as was running it. You know, and as a parish council, what you've done before is make grants, but what you've not done is want to take over the management of CCTV, which I think is, you know, very, very wise, because that's a whole different kind of ballgame. In Honley Business Association do it really well. You know,
They're on the ball.
They've clearly got it sucked in the way they do it, and yeah, I'm quite happy to make contact with Home First Forward and just say this is something that the parish council would want to work in partnership with them on in terms of giving grants. Just bear in mind, at the moment, the lion's share of that EMR is going to the Homley Business Association. So if the Home Firth CCTV is resurrected, that might be something where you would want to take that into account in setting future budgets.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Because like is it 1,880 in there at the moment, which is a bit
Which
of a
isn't
random,
enough.
it's a bit of a random amount. I don't know if it's a value that's just been carried forward over the years from some budget I didn't have to before. But if it's costing 1,500 a year to maintain Homley, or if it's every couple of years, you might get away with not doing Homley next year and doing Home Firth next year and vice versa. But we don't know, so it's something that we need to look into further, and hopefully somebody in Home Firth might take this on, or I don't know, is it something we want to take on? I don't know.
Maybe that figure previously covered both Home Firth and Homley,
Yeah.
and
inflation
the Homley one has
is-
kept going up, but there was enough money in there.
So,
Yeah. Sorry, Councillor.
Yeah, I was just saying, I think this is something that we should support in the parish council. I think it'd be very popular within the community as well. Yeah, on lots of different levels.
Yeah, I mean, I've looked at convictions before as well.
Sorry.
Convictions, so it's been successful.
Councillor.
so the Homley one, if an incident occurs, does a volunteer from the business association download the images for the police?
No, that there is a business, and I can't quite remember off the top of my head what the name is, but there is it is a business which manages it
So is
on
that-
behalf of
yeah.
Homley Business Association.
So the maintenance grant, this 1,500 pays towards that one.
Yeah. System Online, I think it's called. System Online are the ones that manage it on behalf of Homley Business Association. So Homley Business Association own the CCTV, but it's managed for them.
So are we paying all the running costs for it then? It pays to me.
We pay this maintenance, yes.
So what other costs are there? It appears to me that why aren't we just owning it ourselves? What is the reason not to? If all we do is give Homley Business Association money for them to pay a private company to manage it, apart from putting grants in, what are ongoing
Can I
governments?
ask a subsidiary question? If we took it over, would it take up more clerical time than currently it takes to liaise with Homley and deal with the grants?
I would have thought so, yes.
Yes, it will.
I think as well that originally when it was installed, we may have given them some money towards it, but we didn't pay for the whole lot. So they raised a lot of money themselves to pay for it themselves, which is probably why they own it, and why we don't do. And I kind of prefer it that way, because we don't have the
Responsibility.
responsibility for it. If they have it, then it's
But it appears you pay £1,560 for a professional company to have responsibility for
Yeah.
doing all the dates.
I think there is the liaison that on the business association do with the third party company when they agree how much it's going to cost, and then they understand when any cameras might be broken, what they're doing about it and things like that. So however little time, if we took it on, it would take up more clerical time. It's just bound to. So at the moment, I think, in my opinion, because Homley Business Association raised so much money to put it in the first place, it would seem daft just stepping in and saying, well, we'll do it all, because you'll find there's loads of stuff comes out of the woodwork that we're going to have to deal with, and, you know.
Well, I was happy to leave only doing what they're doing. I was more thinking about the whole first situation.
Yeah,
Where nobody's running it.
I think the problem with the whole
Yeah,
further one is
right.
what you'll find, and I think this happened in Homley at one point, they started to install a system, that didn't quite work, so they had to go back to the drawing board, and what you'll find is, to do the same in Home Firth, you're not talking about just starting up a new service grant, you're talking about the 15 grand or whatever it'll take to set the thing up again,
Yes.
in the first place. I think that would, but I might be wrong, but I think that's what we'll end up with, because it's not been maintained, and because it's not been run,
Yeah.
you'd almost be starting
It
from
will be
scratch.
up to date.
Yeah.
Well, the cameras as well, then, but might be 10 years old, so they might be out of date, and then they'll have to link into their software and their networks and all the stuff like that. It gets more and more complicated. But if they are to do that, the Honley group, the company that Honley uses are very good. System Vision, when we set up with them and used them to begin with, were very good as well, but I think they've since stopped trading. I think it's Bill O'Brien, the chap who ran it, and I think he's retired now and he's had a few issues over the years. He did do a lot of good things like for us. Like he helped install the defibrillator on the toilets and done some stuff like that and other things like that across the area, but I don't know if the business is still running now, but the Honley business seems to work well, so if it's working well for us in one part of the valley, it would be stupid to employ a different company to do the same job, wouldn't we, I think?
Yeah.
Shall we leave for the moment that you just make that contact?
Yeah.
And see where we go from there.
You could suggest they talk to Holland Business Association, how they organise it.
And it was quite nice, it's a good time to do it, and we just had a fire alarm incident at the weekend.
Yeah. Yes, everybody will be more alert to it.
Yeah.
Receptive to suggestions.
Yeah.
Okay, so in respect of the grant to Honley Business Association,
I've got my proposal on the table at the
we
moment.
do, thank you. Which is that we approve,
And make it a rolling grant.
make it a rolling grant. All in favour? Thank you.
And because it's an EMR, there's a further motion then, recommending to full council the release of the £1,560 from the EMR. It's because it's an EMR, releasing money from EMRs always have to go to full council. It's full council that does that. So you've got that second motion as well.
I propose we put it to full council.
Second.
Yeah.
In favour? Thank you. Moving on to assets management, Honley Library. Friends of Honley Library provided their report, so we've got that in the papers for consideration, plus an update on the events. There's also the revised architect's plans that have been passed around, and colleagues from Honley might be able to sort of just make a comment on that. And then separately, there is also the notification we were copied into the notice, the paper that went to the cabinet, Kirklees cabinet meeting. Has got today, the cabinet regarding this and changes to the way that the libraries are running, going to be funded and so on. So you have all that. Sorry, Jen.
Apologies, I'm going to correct that. The cabinet meeting is the 20th of February.
Okay.
I clearly had the 19th of February on the brain.
Right. So you've had a chance to hopefully look at the papers that they sent through from Honley Library. Has anyone got any questions or comments to make on those, on the report, etc.? Yeah.
Speaking as an ex-English teacher of nearly 40 years, I found it very difficult to follow this because it was the Kirklees thing, because it was so full
Of the Kirklees,
jargon and stuff that I didn't understand. And I couldn't match up what this was saying with what's going on at Honley Library and seeing how it might change.
I bet Honley Library people are probably a bit.
Well,
It means
So
there'll
can
be no professional staff.
before I get to that, sorry, I'll come back to that in just a moment. Can I ask if there's any comments on the report from Honley
Honley
Library?
Library.
No? So we will send our thanks to Jen Lockwood and colleagues for that report, and it is very much, I have to say, for the record, it's very much about the sort of thing we were asking for from them in terms of that sort of soft information. How's it broadly going on for you? What's it feel like, and so on. So I think so we appreciate that. Before I come on to your point, Councillor Stewart, can I also just ask if anyone's got any comments on the architect's plans, or whether Councillor Collins or Councillor Kirby want to add anything to the
They're
plans?
essentially a cheaper, it's to reduce costs. I think it works well in
Yeah,
doing that.
absolutely.
The, as you probably all know, they're working on a bid to build an extension. A huge bid. I mean, they're asking for $250,000 and they need to match the funding or something like that, isn't it? It's going very well. It's ahead of the game. They won. There's the other thing you apply for, and you apply for the money to make the application. Believe it or not. Because it's an expensive job making the application, but we got 40 hours of this fabulous advisor called Josie, and she's been brilliant. That bit's good, that bit's bad, I would do it like this, why don't you do that, that's a weak spot. You know, really, our weakest spot, it's going, I mean, it's marginally ahead of time, though nothing is ever ahead of time, is it?
No.
With luck and a following wind, it could go in for the batch that apply in April. If you don't get it then, it's at least 6 months. Is it a year or 6 months?
I think it's September.
Yeah. So it's looking at the moment set to go in April. The thing that makes us a weaker applicant is that we could well be up against people who are fighting to keep a library open. And that clearly even we would approve of them giving it to them. But that's progressing well.
Nothing really to add to that.
Sorry.
So I think I've misunderstood because Jenny sent me this report and the library matters, and I've read revised plans will be submitted to this committee for approval, thinking that's going to happen in the future, and clearly she's got the plans to the committee in a different way, which I wasn't expecting. So in terms of considering any further actions, can I suggest that you may want to consider approving revised plans as viewed at the meeting?
Okay.
Everyone happy with that?
I haven't seen them.
You haven't seen them? Sorry, I'm crossing them. Were you late?
I don't think I can propose that we approve that given it.
So, does someone
Yeah, I'll
propose?
propose it.
Councillor Stewart proposed, seconded Councillor Ransby. All in, do you want a bit more time, Councillor Ryan? You're welcome to, if you will.
I think
Do
it
you
would
remember
be.
the last ones?
I think so.
It's a bit,
But I'm quite,
Would you like to point anything out on the plans that
I haven't studied it closely
No,
enough to
okay.
do that.
so what are we approving?
Again, they're not final plans. These
No.
aren't the plans that will go to a
No.
builder. I mean,
So
they're
we're
approved.
approving really?
They have revised the architect's plans with a view to cutting costs, basically. And that's what this plan does. And it doesn't take away, at casual glance, it appears to take away very little of what we were gaining from all the plans. So, I'm not trying to con you, but it seems to me.
no, that was my reading of, just looking at
10 minutes ahead of schedule, we're going for town table.
Oh, yeah. You have 9 minutes, please.
Like you say,
So-
it's
so
not
we're not
just
approving-
impression, it's not
No.
a detailed thing.
There'll be a lot more developments on
Yeah,
this, like,
yes,
it's
This,
just,
well, can you get it? I mean,
Yeah.
there isn't going to be a spade in the, even if we get the grant, there isn't going to be a spade in the ground for, I would think, 3 years. Maybe 2.
And additionally, of course, we have 2 representatives, on the trustees there, who are kept in close contact with the developments. So we have a proposal and a seconder to approve these. All in favour? Thank you. Carried. Now, separately, I'll come back to
Yes,
the point
okay.
you were raising, Councillor Stewart. And can I say that I totally get where you're coming from with this. I read that report, so we're talking about the paper that we were made aware of last week, I think it was, wasn't it? It came through.
Thursday.
I think mine was start. Anyway, I'm not sure. It's about a week ago. so it was going to Kirklees Cabinet from officers, Kirklees officers, regarding some quite major changes and expenditure savings and staff changes as well, across the whole of the library service. I have to say, you know, with the role I've got in a voluntary role in the library, you know, this has been seen as coming for some time. I agree, I found the first half of the paper totally impenetrable.
Yeah.
But, so my advice to anyone is read the second half because it's spelled out a
Yes.
bit more.
It's the first half written again.
Yeah, my reading of it, and I'll, you know, happy to be corrected by anyone else, is that the way that Honley will be impacted with this is that they will continue pretty much in the same model that they've got at the moment. They will have access still to the book fund,
Yes.
importantly. So they will still have a stock of books and exchanges and everything else that they have. But they will lose the input. They have a lot of volunteers
Yeah.
running the library, but they also have the input on a daily basis.
And she does 4 half days a week. The library is open 5 days a week,
Right.
5 half days a week, and she does 4 of them.
That's from. Okay, so there is a librarian who's on the team.
She
So
isn't a librarian,
Oh,
she's a
sorry.
Kirklees person. There are only 2
Okay.
librarians in
Yes,
the whole of the library
apologies, you're right,
service.
yeah. So, but she works with in the library's team.
And she has library expertise.
Yes, absolutely, and she does work. I know she works at Hope Firth as well, that particular person.
Yes.
So the paper that's gone to cabinet and would then have to work its way through consultations, etc. Would see them Honley losing that. Councillor Kirby pointed out to me before that there are some duties which only a member of that library's team are currently allowed to do.
What's that?
I don't know. I know from the discussion I had with Jenny that what happens at the moment is volunteers can do certain things. I guess it's the basic stuff of books in and out and all the usual stuff. But they cannot do that until they've been trained by Kirklees. So at the moment, if they've got a new volunteer, unless Kirklees find time to train them, they can't use the system. So there's certain volunteers who have obviously been trained who do that, but there are certain functions within the system that only the Kirklees people are allowed to do, I believe. And it might be things like issue new cards or some of the certain things that they can do.
issue cards. I've done that.
Yeah, but I don't know exactly what they are.
But
There are
almost certainly, at the moment, library staff can help people apply for a Kirklees passport online. And I don't think they would just let volunteers do it. I may be wrong.
This is what's slightly different, that they're asking community libraries to do more things, but with no professional help. I think that is really scary, actually.
Now,
And also,
Jenny is very sanguine about it because she has a very low opinion of Kirklees libraries. She is an ex-librarian.
I know.
But there are things, and I must say, Elaine, who's only recently been appointed, is doing a very good job. She's really working hard, and she loves the library. She first went there when she was 4 years old. And she's getting it on the Facebook page, and she's always taking pictures of, she always has something, every Saturday morning they're making a Valentine card, or they're making a Christmas card, or they're making, there's some other thing they're doing, or there's an animal hunt, or whatever. And it's all good. It's sad for her. But,
That's right.
Yeah, can I ask about the customer service centres? So the idea is to merge the library with customer service centre, as happens in some of the libraries. Talks about Huddersfield and Dewsbury, doesn't it?
I'm not sure that's proposed for Honley.
No, okay.
And I'm assuming, given what's being said, probably not.
It seemed to be suggesting that it was going to be broadened though. That it wasn't just going to be in Huddersfield and Dewsbury. And I don't know whether that's good or bad really, to be honest. I don't know.
Basis,
Yeah. I guess it's easier for people to get to those customer service.
If they just hand you a phone.
No, I mean, I don't know that much about it, but I just wondered where that fitted in really, if we knew that.
Can I just raise my objection? Since when are people who live in Kirklees customers? big turquoise blob on the front of the civic centre and called it the customer service centre as if it's ours. It's awful.
It's the citizen service centre.
Citizen, yeah, citizen
Exactly,
service.
we live here,
Yeah.
we live here, we're not customers. The badges that the librarians wear say customer service on them.
But they are, you are customers of a library. What are
I'm
you?
not sure we're going to resolve this. We might be slightly exceeding our powers here.
I wanted to wear badges saying user.
Say librarian,
They're not librarians, you can't put librarians.
Sorry, can we, I'll move off this point, sorry.
Yeah, I agree with Alison though, like, if I'm a customer, customer is somebody who doesn't buy something. From a library, you're not buying it, you're using the services.
But you can't use the word user on a badge.
Well,
there's better
Users.
words.
yeah, but there's better words for it,
Yeah.
like.
Colleagues, can I suggest we don't
It's
spend
just
so much time on this point alone? Save it for the pub, please.
I think
You've got your gavel there.
Tom is in the middle of
Okay.
Sorry.
as a customer of the library, and my son is a customer of the library, and he likes a lot of things and a lot of games and the things that they have on there. It is really good when we go there on Saturday morning. And yeah, they might be able to, the people on the library are great, and all the volunteers there are very, very good. But you do lose something when you do lose the proper professional member of staff. And then it's like, who do they go to when they need help with something? If they ring somebody up, or they're not available, or they're not working that day, and things like that. At the moment, you've got like a really good system. You know where it works, how there's people are in there to help out. So, like, if they're not there one day, you know, they're doing the next day to answer your questions. So,
It's sad, it's very sad.
it's a shame that it is going like it is, but there are reasons why it is going like it is. So it's just, it might be one of those things where we have to suck it and see how it goes after a few. And
Well, it's not been resolved this, we're just considering what's being proposed in a minute. Councillor Riley.
Yeah, it just say in terms of customer service function, it just say phase 2. So phase 1 is just for the government to use for it, and then phase 2 will be implemented across the remainder of the integrated library hubs. Yeah.
So they're going to send more information people out.
So I guess it will be a merged function.
Sorry?
I think it should be phones and computers.
It says computers, it says
There won't be people.
computers, telephones and scanners to help residents.
Yeah, but they'll have to send
Yes,
people.
I would.
We can't just send them out. Given that for Honley Library, I don't believe that Elaine's 4 mornings a week is going to make diddly squat difference to Kirkby's budget. And I think it's I think we should resist losing her.
But it isn't just Elaine's 4 mornings, it's all the other community libraries across Kirklees, isn't it?
Yeah, but we're only bothered with.
I know.
Well, no,
We only do care about
I was going to say that Home Firth is also of concern to us because, you know, and how that service is impacted, even though we don't have the same responsibility. Councillor Dixon.
I think as well the library services around here have been cut so much that it's like Newmill Library closed about 10-12 years ago. So that's one third of the library is gone. All of the library is being passed on to us. So all we have to do now is provide a member of staff and they don't pay for any of the maintenance or all like that. Thunderworth Library is as is. There used to be a mobile library that went around as well, but that's gone donkeys ago. So the provision has reduced down massively over the years. And I'd say it's probably down to its bones as it is. They can't really strip it anymore, but they are doing this, and I think we should try and resist it because, like you said, you work there, Pat. You know what she does, and how valuable she is.
Yeah.
And if you have to make a change like this, it's going to have a big, it's going to be a big change, isn't it? Big impact.
So just to say, I mean, these are preliminary proposals, that the engagement is going to be completed by summer 2024. Your next service provision meeting is the 8th of July. So if you want to make any representations about this, you've got to decide at this meeting how you know, whether you're going to have a working group or whatever, but you do need to decide, because by the time you next meet, you know, it may have finished.
We could, I mean, I think we could take, it sounds ridiculous, but we could take guidance from Jenny and her team as to how we can do something that they're not going to be. I mean, we can replicate what they do, but is there other stuff we can do? And I think we should decide today we'll do something in advance of the next meeting, and sort of let Jenny almost direct us.
Thank you. Councillor Ryder.
Could we consider as a parish council funding or part funding the library area?
Well,
If it comes to it, yeah.
yeah, we could, it's an option.
Councillor Angle, Councillor Moore.
I was just going to say, we need to listen to the meeting tomorrow night to see what Kirklees Council make of it. Because it's their discussion, essentially, it's discussion tomorrow. But it seems when you read the report that it's fairly done and dusted.
Oh, yeah.
I think.
Can you go
They
on,
need to say
can you go online to watch
You
these?
can just watch on
YouTube.
And can you watch it retrospectively?
Yes.
Yeah,
Not to
they
run
can
like
do
that.
it.
Yeah, so you know what the outcome is.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, you know, I think that, as I understand it, the next step after that cabinet meeting would be actually the discussions. I think it's not a consultation, is it? It's like you go discussions with the libraries and so on. That's my understanding. We could, I suppose, say that we would like to be party to some of those discussions.
Yes.
If people would like to
I
do
think
that,
we should.
and I would suggest, you know, that we either have a group, you know, a nominated, you know, delegates from here, or that, you know, or perhaps our two representatives already on the library.
Yeah.
You need to get off. Okay.
Oh, cheers,
Nice to
Ian.
see you. That's okay.
Cheers.
We've certainly, I think, voiced the, you know, I think I can take the mood of this meeting about this general sort of proposal that's going on in Kirklees. But we can't make any decisions at this point, I don't think, given that we don't know what we're deciding.
I hate to say this, but it is to their credit that they've got to where they've got without redundancies. They're one of the very few local authorities that haven't laid off library staff. And finally, the knife has come down to the bone.
They did in Home First Library,
Yeah.
No,
surely.
they reorganised, but nobody was compulsorily redundant.
I believe it's also been complicated by what's been going on in Huddersfield centrally, and staff coming out to other libraries as well.
Yes,
Because
but there
they
were
closed
no
that down,
compulsory redundancies.
No.
But I think there was some, I don't think there were that many volunteers,
No.
to be true. I think just everybody got shuffled round.
Are you looking for something further?
I just don't want you to get to July the 8th and, you know, that's moved on in you've not had your views.
I think it's a chance to input those views, but my personal view is that
Well,
what Councillor Collins suggested, which
we
is
could
that
call an
you take.
extraordinary meeting of this committee, or we could do a Zoom meeting, or we could email. I mean, I think Glenn and I will have to ask as actors, coordinators, and suggest what we're doing, and we can communicate with you. How you communicate with the committee is up to the committee.
Councillor Ransom.
Can we not have a small working party listen to tomorrow's meeting and then formulate ideas as a small group, return those views to this committee by email, and we agree something by email, so that by the time of the July meeting, we have a firm view.
So we stay with it basically without.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
That's good.
Steve, I was about to say the same thing that Steve just said. But I was going to say the working group could report back to the full council with their motion, and then the full council could agree to it.
Okay.
So that'd be part and Glenn working together,
Yeah.
and also working with obviously what the people at the Holland Library Committee and the trustees what they want to do, because they might even put something together in writing for us. But the thing that we can do is we can add a bit more weight to their argument and back it up, because Parish Council rather than just their group, it helps their argument.
Okay. Do I have any expressions of interest from anyone other than Councillor Colley, Councillor Kirby, for sort of what, ensuring that they watch that meeting?
I'm not free tomorrow evening.
Well, I mean, you can listen,
Okay.
No,
I understand you can listen.
You can watch it.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think the people from Holland Library were watching it as well, but they'll be able to give you a briefing on
I'm
it.
seeing-
And if Alison watches it,
I'm informally seeing Jenny at the weekend anyway, socially, so, so I'll be.
I'm volunteering tomorrow afternoon.
Oh, right.
So
Okay.
I'll ask them then.
So between, I think, you know, just leave it with people perhaps to keep communicating
Yes.
into the rest of this group,
Yeah.
if you would. And as you said, you'll be, you know, staying in touch with Jenny and picking up their views, and we'll see where this goes. But
Okay.
there's definitely been a pretty firm expression of concern, shall we say,
Mm.
from this meeting.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes.
That's sufficient.
Yeah, do you want me to communicate that expression of concern both to Vol formally from the Home Valley Parish Council, but also to Kirklees, that this has been discussed in? You
I
know,
think
Yes,
so.
I think
On the
so.
basis of the
Yeah.
proposal
Yeah.
as we've seen it at the
Yeah.
moment, which we know is subject to further discussions.
yeah,
Then you can kind of CC the trustees.
yeah.
We okay with that? I don't think we need a vote on that. Thank you. Is there anything else then? Moving on, Civic Hall. We've had an update from Dawn, I believe.
Does she know it's worth £9 million?
More than that.
More than
I think it's nearly
It's
10.
not worth now, all that does is put the insurance on.
Yes,
Sadly-
we wanted a valuation of £100,000.
should we sell it and buy another one somewhere else?
We can sell it and buy another, and build another village, Tom.
I did propose at Case Pub that
For the benefit of the camera, we're joking. Is there anything you wanted to comment on this?
Just to say, regarding the 6th of February visit from the architect and Sue Brooke that Dawn refers to in her report. I mean, that visit, as I understand it, was very fruitful. Maybe that Councillor Ransby might want to comment further. There has been a suggestion that actually there may need to be a change to the roof line, which would need planning permission because it's a listed building. Likely to be accepted, but that would take 6 to 9 months. So, you know, it could well be that we're looking at quite a long time frame here before the architect's plan can, you know, be started to be implemented. In terms of the repairs to the roof, our insurers are currently pursuing the first contractors regarding that work. And that is underway. And regarding the boundaries, which I know Dawn's referred to, so Dawn and myself had a meeting with a resident, that's happened. I'll update the working group regarding conclusion of that and possible next steps, but I would say largely things are moving in a positive direction regarding all of that. Well done to the civic staff for obtaining that national lottery grant. That was obviously a good piece of work. And Dawn and myself are going to look at the green energy grant when the next round opens that you talked about, Councillor Green. I think we've missed the deadline, but we are going to work together on that when the next round opens. And in terms of the finances, as you know, that's something this committee talked about at its last meeting. The meeting still needs to be arranged with the working group that was discussed last time. Apologies that I've not managed to do that yet. But obviously things are more positive there as well than they were at the last meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Collins.
Can I ask how many hours the clerk is doing on Civic Hall work?
I don't know. Without counting it. I mean, it's
Perhaps it's worth recording it because it it's something we would only want to be temporary, isn't it? It's not
Mm.
part of your job.
It's a major asset for the council, isn't
I
it?
know, and it needs doing. I'm not saying you shouldn't be doing it, but it isn't part of your job, and it could give rise to a need for overtime or whatever, just when you've sorted it out. So we need to keep an eye on how many hours you are doing, because if, I'm not saying they're not necessary, but they need to be clocked, and we should be aware of it.
And perhaps whether it's in balance with all the other responsibilities or other assets,
Exactly,
etc.
what is not getting done while that's being done.
Is this, I'm not sure whether it's saying.
I realise I'm asking you a difficult question, yeah, and I didn't expect you to have answers on the spot. I just feel we need to be careful.
Is this something that can be picked up through staffing and
Yes.
so on? Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Green.
Yeah, my thoughts on that are, it is our biggest asset slash liability, whichever way you look at it. And we are the landlords and owners of it, are we not? So we have to put the work in, it seems to me. And he's doing right rather than piecemeal, as it seems to have been done
Yeah.
historically. So, correct, put your hands in, put your nose in, it seems to me.
Just to say that December and January, I did not do any overtime.
So, it's a first.
And you know, it's certainly been. We're now sort of starting to reap the rewards of Gemma's appointment, I would say, in that scope. I am very aware. I'm having my knee replaced on the 28th of February, so I'm going to be out of action for a little bit of time in our arrangements over all of that are in hand. I'll put some kind of note in the minutes, Councillor, regarding that this is being raised as a query.
If you could maybe just mark them on your timesheet so that you know how many hours you've done, and you will know when it's something you need to be alarmed about or to do something about, won't you? You're the best judge.
And I can report that to staffing.
Councillor Rosemary, anything to add to?
Yeah, unfortunately, the meeting that took place earlier this month had been postponed a couple of times, and both Andy Wilson and myself were previously booked on the day they arrived. But I had a fairly extensive briefing from Dawn, and I was very pleasantly surprised that Sue Brooks essentially has given a green light to the proposed works as identified by the architects, which quite surprised me. But it does mean that when they start drawing up more detailed plans, they will have in mind that what they draw up will go with the recommendation of approval.
Some of the roofing here.
Yeah, well, yeah. And that within the next couple of months, we should expect from the architects their detailed costings and breakdowns of what needs to be done in the immediate, medium and long term, just in keeping the fabric together. And then after that, it will be their proposals for what the civic hall can become. And that puts us in a whole different ballgame. But things are moving forward. 7 years too late, but they're moving forward.
Can I just ask on that, is there any sense on the trustees that you would rather that the two happened at the same time? That we had, or you had a better idea of where this is going to be going in the future, alongside what needs to be done now?
I think that will fall into place.
Yes.
The current trustee leadership, I think, is pulling things together, and the procedures that went on prior to this past year have not helped, I think is the best way to put it. There is now proper control of what is going on. is in place, rather than being dealt with on an annual basis.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Moore?
Can I ask that in the, what the Civic Hall could become bit of this, we revisit the option of making this room bigger? Because it is, this room is not fit for
Oh no,
purpose.
I think there will be, from what I've heard, there will be a major revamp.
We need a room big
extensive,
enough for the council and the public.
There will be extensive changes
Right.
internally.
Okay.
The architects are aware of the current failings of this building and the current uses and where they don't marry.
There are other rooms, of course, you know, that in the building that are perhaps better suited for
Well,
those
no, the
particular
others are
uses.
too big.
The reception room downstairs.
What do you mean by the reception?
The cafe.
The cafe? Well, where would the office, where would our office?
Oh, no, I was thinking specifically
It's
for,
about the same size as this.
I was thinking for
It's not a lot
the small number of meetings that you were talking about.
No, I'm talking about all of our council meetings.
Oh, okay. All right.
And particularly full council meetings and where the public wants to be. You know, if you've got a, it's, this works all right for subcommittees. It would work better if we got rid of this ludicrous furniture.
Hang on to the gavel. Councillor Morgan, did you say, sorry.
No, honestly, I'm fine.
Okay. All right. Anything else to say on this? If not, sorry.
Sorry, can I ask, there are these two options have been put forward about what's happening about the roof. And then when is that, who is going to be deciding that? Is
The
that
trustees will
trustee?
be deciding that on the basis of the architect's, architect's recommendations. It won't be, oh, I know Fred down the road who's done occasional roofing, but he's jolly
They've
cheap,
come out with a bit of felt and some tarmac.
which has tended to be what's happened before. I've got an ladder and some tarmac and a bit of whatever and a nail, and I'll sort it.
Thank you. Are we okay? We move on from this? I'm just conscious of time now. And I think we pass on our thanks to Dawn and to the trustees for the reports. Thank you. Moving on, item 79 refers to the report we've had from the maintenance contractor, John. We're going to pick up on a couple of these items specifically. Is there anything anyone wants to ask or comment on in John's report? No, it's pretty much the kind of state of play report.
But they're mostly the things that you might want to pick up on will come up in the later items. Otherwise you tend to go over the same ground.
Yeah, because I want to talk about some specifics.
Yeah, okay, which we will come back to. Is that okay? So we received that report and noted it. The next item, item 80, we are conducting private session. So we will invite Susan in, yeah? Is that okay? And then there's a couple of other items, you know, we might end up bumping a couple of these agenda items
Should I tell
forward.
us?
Yeah.
You're the youngest kid. I forgot to do
Okay, folks, so welcome to Susan Greenwood, who's here, Berkeley's Youth Alliance, with whom we have a partnership and stream of funding and one thing and another. We've had Susan's report, it's in the papers, thank you for that. Which you covered 2 quarters, I think, in the report. I'll let you say what you would like to say and invite questions.
Yeah, I mean, because I provided the Q3 update at the time, so I didn't really look at that, if I'm honest, so the update in the right hand side column is literally that update. So yeah, it's going really well. Tyler, I think that's part of the battle, getting a good youth worker for this type of work, obviously. They're very few and far between. Tyler was with me when we set up the Phoenix Centre, so it just worked out nicely that she was available for this position. So she started and she's just doing brilliantly. You did a lovely article on her, because I'd circulated a bit of information, because I thought it's important to stress that she's a half-time worker and really make people clear that what she's actually going to be doing, so that, because what happens, you can just get pulled in so many different directions. So I'm really clear with her. She knows she's got, like, I'm kind of worked out, it's about 3 hours at Holmfirth High, 3 hours at Honley High, 4 hours helping Cafe 100, 4 hours helping Honley Youth when they get up and running, and in the meantime it's 4 hours dedicated to Honley and redevelopment work. And then she's made links with the importance of other partners, stakeholders that exist, so the school community hubs. And we've got funding in addition to the funding that you guys have put forward to run the Young Leaders Award, and that's something I'm rolling out across the whole of Kirklees, and I'm sort of trialling one cohort in the rural locality, one in Dewsbury Murphy, one in Batley, one in Huddersfield, so that's part of something bigger, if you like, anyway. So that's been well received by Holmfirth. So they're really supportive. So it's the SEND coordinator there that we're working with. And Tyler did a poster to advertise to parents. So we're just waiting on the school's going to allocate the young people, but there should be young people with additional needs or with additional vulnerabilities in the school. So it's sort of helping two different ways, really. It is developing the young people, but it's hopefully helping to re-engage them back into school as well. So what else? So that's Tyler. Yeah, she's ever so good, and she's doing exactly what I hoped she would do. And she's been in Cafe 100 a few weeks now, and that's really good, because it's not run by a youth worker. It's never been run by a professional youth worker as Cafe 100. It's been a series of project workers. So it's really nice for a qualified youth worker to be going in and helping them to develop their practice, so that it creates sort of more solid outcomes, I suppose. Then with Phoenix, I put some little pictures. I thought they were really nice, that the young people were rebranding their youth group. So they're really nice. And they've come up with a nice acronym for that. So that's the whole point. I asked her to do some new comms with it, because the idea obviously is we want to promote that to other young people. So now that we're building links with the schools, Tyler will be able to actively promote Phoenix Youth Club and promote Cafe 100. And we've got the systems committee starting in a couple of weeks. So we've got a CRM and an ITM system, so basically a computerised system that will finally be able to do things in a much more organised way, rather than the 100 spreadsheets I currently have. So that's very exciting, and the organisations locally will all get part of that system as well, so we'll all be working on the same system, so we'll be able to monitor and evaluate things really well. I don't know what else to pull out. So Phoenix, they've had issues recently, so it has been really good timing that when Tyler started. I don't know what happened, but their second youth worker left, or they fell out or something. I'm not sure what happened, but they were without a youth worker just as Tyler was starting. So I was able, it shows another benefit of this approach, that we're able to jump in and cover a sort of an issue that had arisen. So that's worked really well, but it also meant Tyler was able to And I said it's part of your induction, get to know the club, get to know the staff again and the young people. And she's come back with raising a few issues, so it's been really useful for that. And one thing I wanted to mention tonight, I did write to Jen and say, could you put, I don't know whether you've had the discussion, that I asked whether we could swap a bit of the resource. So I've obviously set it out in a way that you've approved, but I did wonder whether you'd be okay if Tyler swapped her 3-hour Honley High School session with one of the youth workers at Phoenix, so Tyler can do the senior session at Phoenix. You're probably like, oh, what? It is a good plan. That's all you need to know, maybe. It is a good plan, and I can explain it probably better. There is issues, and I really think it would be beneficial for Tyler to be in at the heart of the Phoenix Club to improve practice, and especially the seniors, because we're much more about the secondary school age, and I think that's what this funding's about anyway. It's not about the young ones. So not so much interest in the junior session at Phoenix, but the senior session, there's not that many people there at the moment, so we want to increase that, and Tyler will do that. She's very good, and because the Honley session was in partnership, it's joint funded with Melbourne Town Council, because Honley High School, as you can imagine, half the young people are from Melbourne, half the young people are from Honley. So it's an interesting one. So it worked really nicely actually that you guys were funding Tyler, who would deal with the Honley children, and Melbourne Town Council are funding Claire from Enabling Youth to deal with Melbourne young people. However, Claire can only do the Monday. It comes down to this logistical nightmare. Tyler's working for me Tuesday to Thursday, and Claire can only do Mondays. So they put it to us whether the lead youth worker from the senior session at Phoenix could do the lunchtime session at Honley with Claire. So they're still dealing with the Honley children and young people, and Claire and Tyler can then do the senior session at Phoenix. So I wanted to put that to you this evening, if you can
So you're
trust me
simply
on that.
swapping the people,
Yeah.
not the work.
Absolutely, the resource is still being used in the valley, you know, and just potentially using it a bit better actually than it was originally. And we've struggled so much with Honley High School as well. Getting in there, it's been a real battle. Homeforth have been brilliant, I have to say. Honley's been difficult, so in a way as well, I've got Tyler's going into the school actually, and another guys she's supporting. Do you know Julie McDowell, who supports the Kirklees councillors? So Julie works in the democracy service. So Tyler's going in to do a session, and it'll be something around the police standard or something. It's to help engage with young people. And I said, actually, that's a better use of your time to get into Honley High School and start developing links yourself. So there is a bit of that happening as well.
Can I saw that in your report about Honley High School, and I was going to ask whether anyone, do we have any governors at Honley High amongst us? Oh, no.
The other thing is, the other thing though, having spoken to, so I've got a group of young ambassadors, and one of them happens to be from Honley High School, and I was speaking to her about my troubles getting in touch with her school, and she's like, oh yeah, as a young person would say. But she also told me that their lunch break is only 40 minutes now as well. So to do an hour, the intention had been that we would do an hour as a lunchtime session, so 40 minutes. And she also told me, because the plan was to do a sort of well-being drop-in type thing, and my young ambassador told me they've already got something like that set up. So again, I was thinking, right, if Claire and Ali from Phoenix, they want to crack on and still do something there, we can be building links behind the scenes, and I think we'll offer the Young Leaders Award there as well. So so we'll get to the same point, we're definitely on that journey of engaging with both high schools, and it just never happens the way you plan it necessarily. But Tyler is definitely really good.
You might find a nose in through the special unit, they've got a special unit.
Yeah,
special meeting.
yeah, well, we will try that, because that's how,
And
that's
it's
where
more
we're going to.
autonomous than
Right,
having.
rather than linked to, yeah, yes, well, I'll try that, and the plans for Honley, while Honley Youth re-establishes itself, we're going to do, and I put it in there, a detached youth work session, to try and build some relationships with young people, so we've got a route planned, and I think we were struggling to get in touch with Honley Village Hall as well, so I don't know if anyone has connections.
But the youth club meets in the community centre.
Yes,
not
no, we're
Village
trying to
Hall.
get the village hall.
Peter Bonds.
Yeah,
I'll send you his details. I mean, has he not
We've
come
got,
back?
no, he hasn't come back to us.
Okay.
Yeah, so we wonder if there's anyone else that are,
Well, I've still got Margaret's number as the chair, so I can give her a ring and just ask her what's going on. If-
that would be helpful.
Mm.
Because we're thinking that just another venue to use that, you know, people can get involved with, and, so, yeah.
So when you say detached youth work, or doing some detached youth work, you're talking about in the town
Yes.
as opposed,
on
yeah,
the
to
street.
park
So
or
going where,
whatever.
yeah, so we'll
Yeah.
do Javelin Rec,
Mm.
the skate park, and back of the library, and down the high street. So we're kind of, they'll do an hour wandering around, which is actually plenty time, it's a smallish village, go around, but they'll encourage young people to come to drop in and just have a cup of hot chocolate, have a chat, maybe play a game. So they'll just have some board games and stuff, and that's when they'll start conversations. But they'll do that, we'll do that until Honley Youth gets set up, and by that time, hopefully, we'll be able to say to Honley Youth, look, we've got this group of young people that are really interested in doing X, Y, or Z, whatever. So we're trying to sort of, sounds awful, we've tried working with Steve and the Netherton Community Centre, with their junior and senior youth group. There are no seniors go, when a senior went, they didn't come back the next week, and again, they're not youth workers, they're more like community workers, play workers, whatever, good with the younger children, but not good doing project youth work, if you like, and that's what we want to do. So yeah, it's.
I was actually going to, I mean, I'm glad you mentioned about the detached youth work, because I was actually going to ask whether that might in the future be an angle wherever, whether it's Honley or Home Firth or Brockholes or whatever, you know. I mean, there's clearly, you know, far more youngsters hanging out and, you know, this evening probably at Sands, that, you know, as actually in the youth clubs and so on. Not to say that, you know, I mean, all right, it's fine, they're hanging out, you know, they don't necessarily need a youth worker there, but whether that might be something you'd look at in the future.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're doing it in Honley because there isn't any senior provision at the moment happening. In Home Firth there's obviously Cafe 100 and the Phoenix Club, which we will start to promote more. So I think a lot of young people just won't know they're on at the moment. And then, yeah, you're absolutely right, some young people don't want to go to a youth club, but then they don't really know what happens. And like we're doing, so I get wind of all sorts of things, and there's actually, he's a local lad, the guy that does the Jam Factory. I don't know whether any of you know, but he's Home Firth. So a guy that runs it's a music organisation, and he approached me a few months ago saying, do you know how I've got all this funding, and I've got this programme ready to deliver, but I don't know how to get into schools or into youth groups. And I'm like, yes, you come to the right place. So they're, you know, he's in Murfield now, and Slowett, and he's going to do Phoenix Centre as well. Tyler that's made contact with him. And that's really, when you get programmes like that happening in your youth club, then you can go out on the streets, as you say, and when we're in school, say, there's a 6-week music programme happening at the youth club, and that might bring some in, and then they realise it is actually quite good fun hanging out in there. So yeah, the reason we're doing Honley at the moment is just because there's nothing at the moment. So, and that's the best pathway to set up youth provision. Start on the street, and let them lead the way, kind of thing. That's what we're trying to do.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Questions, folks? Any questions?
No, very comprehensive.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I thank you as well? Sorry, you wanted?
It's just that you don't need, you know, you were saying because you've changed the plan. I think the original resolution didn't have anything about it just
Specific.
saying one person anyway, so you don't need to, you know, sort of
Right.
have any kind of motion regarding that.
Okay.
It's fine.
But we
if
do
you ask.
appreciate your keeping
Absolutely.
us informed.
Yeah, we like to know what's going on.
Yeah.
And also thank you for your report and your presentation, but also that, you know, I know that we spent, you know, some weeks, couple of months, whatever, you know, sort of, I was saying that we were looking for those more sort of smart outcomes
Yeah,
within your report, and appreciate the fact that you've gone with that, and you know, I could see it very much in your reports that you have put in, so it's
Yeah.
brilliant,
Well,
thank
we're
you.
trying, it's difficult, and the sector isn't good
Mhm.
for that.
Mhm.
But yeah, we're really trying to smarten up, and that's when the computer system, because I've been trying to get this for ages, but you can appreciate it's really hard to get funding for things like that. You can get funding for projects, but you can't get funding for the tools to help with your project working, and I finally have been able to cobble that together. So hopefully we'll be able to demonstrate much clearer sort of what we're doing and what we're achieving. So yeah.
Thank you. I think you might well see visits at the youth centres from different people at
Yeah.
different times, you know, obviously we'll liaise with you and, you know, to check that that's okay and so on.
And especially if you're wanting to ask young people about things that you're working on, or, you know, the funding that you deliver, they like to give their opinions, I'm sure, and get involved and
It might be nice to see them come and give us a report here at some point. If
Yeah.
they want to come in, yeah.
Yeah,
That'd be nice.
fantastic, yeah,
yeah.
brilliant.
But,
Thank
yeah.
you, thanks for coming.
No problem. I'll just scribble those two things.
Are you taking us off your list?
Do you know what?
How many more meetings have you got
No,
tonight?
this is the last one. This is the last one. I've been with the West Yorkshire Mayor and all that at the first youth conference. And do you know what? So pleased you said that, asking people to come and deliver, because you know, a 4-hour conference, it was meant to be about young people giving their opinions to the great and the good. And honestly, I facilitated the workshops and they got 5 minutes.
Oh.
And I just walked away thinking, what's the point? And I felt embarrassed for the 2 young ambassadors that I'd taken along, fired them up saying, it's your opportunity to meet the mayor and tell them what you think about serious violence. And yeah, they got 5 minutes and they had to listen to a right load of,
And knowing the Mayor of West Yorkshire, I mean, she would have very much wanted to have that
Yes,
contact.
she would have,
Yeah.
and actually the deputy mayor.
Yeah.
You know, they
Yeah.
are willing to, it's just such a shame. Anyway,
Oh,
I'll be right away easy.
somebody cynically asked me the other day, oh yeah, and what does the parish council do? What have you done since you've been there this year? And they went. So I started with, they were sorry, I have to say, I did make them sorry. I started with, well, we're immensely proud of the fact that we're now funding a youth worker in the Home Valley so that we can work and provide more stuff for the young people to be doing. Blah, blah. So I set off on that. Then I got on to subsidising buses, and then I went on a long train. Yeah, I did all sorts. They did shut up. They were shocked, but I think the youth worker was the most impressive.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
perhaps if you
we're
know where
really
that,
pleased
we are
to be
proud
doing
of it. you
Yeah,
know.
we are.
Yeah,
As a
yeah.
council, we're really proud of
As
this.
we are,
Yeah.
as I am
Yeah.
at KYA, I think this is my good piece of work, is this, and that I'm using elsewhere as a sort of an example. So
Yes.
yeah.
Thank you, thanks for
Thank
coming.
you, thanks very much.
Cheers.
Folks, there's a few more items on the agenda. I'm going to suspend standing orders if that's okay, but only just for a very short time. Is that okay? I'll check again with Jen that she's in agreement. There are a few items on here that, to be honest, we could, are just noting things where we've already given out information and so on. There's not a lot to report. So we could, bump some of those things on, if that's okay, to the next meeting, which I think is July.
Yeah,
Isn't
it is.
One item I feel we really do need to look at tonight is about the Christmas trees, which might seem weird given how long it is till Christmas, but it's about the cycle of funding and everything else. Okay, so all I'm looking for at the moment probably is kind of noting things in principle for us to continue with this project. If I can, apologies from me because you will, I'm going to say some things that I've already said prior to Christmas as well, which is that the current arrangement needs looking at seriously. It's not fair. It's not very rational. Fair as in across the whole of the community, the Valley community. So looking at this, we are looking at this. Jen's done some work on it, looking at costings and things like that,
Yeah.
and various other bits and pieces. You want to say something about that?
So, I think what we're looking for is a discussion and a steer from the committee is the direction we're going to go in. So that by the time we get to the 8th of July meeting, we can bring formal proposals. The reason why that is significant is, of course, there is a grant round in September, which closes on the 31st of August. And if the whole issue of Christmas trees is to become in any way grant driven, it needs to fit into that. So this is why we're discussing things in looking at the process in the way that we are, so that the consideration of any grants towards Christmas trees can be at the meeting on the 23rd of September, if that makes sense. I speak as someone who loves Christmas trees, and I think it's brilliant when you see things all lit up and so on. But you all know that things have sort of emerged in the Home Valley in a fairly higgledy-piggledy way, and why some villages have 100 towards trees funded and others don't, and all those kinds of issues. So the kind of things we need feedback on really is your feelings regarding the provision of the Kirklees trees, your thoughts about how we can facilitate those communities within the Home Valley that want to have Christmas trees and so forth, some of which have been doing it very successfully, others of which, have been a bit misfired over the last couple of years. So, sorry, that wasn't very effective.
That's, right. That's okay. Well, if I can give you some sort of bare bones of this, if you like, and see how you feel about this. So we're looking at replacing the current arrangement with one that's more rational and fairer to the whole community. It's a fundamental principle. Looking to stay within the budget that we've agreed. Okay, so it will be about using the budget in a slightly different way. But the budget has already been agreed, so it's not going to cost any more. It will continue to support the displays in the centres of Holmfirth and Honley. Which are very much the centres to my mind. So we'll continue to do that. We'll be enabling more local community choice in what people have, and supporting them, giving villages ownership, if you like, of their trees, but also giving them support for that. But that will also then extend potentially to more villages, some that are getting nothing at the moment. Hayledge being an example, but there are others around around the valley. So we'll be looking at opening it up. If we go with a kind of grants-based approach, we're opening it up and saying who wants to bid for this. This is what's available, and what is probably going to be available. It could just be a financial contribution to them. But it could also be that they buy in effectively to things that we're offering. So, for example, bulk purchase of trees that we then buy, have delivered, have erected, and have taken away afterwards. People could choose whether they want to buy into that or not. And I say people, I mean this is one of the points. Who are the people? Are there community associations or pubs or whatever that might want to go for this? So we need to look at that, and I suspect there might be just a couple of places where we'll have to dig a bit deeper and to understand who should we be liaising with here and giving this choice to. We'll have to see about that. So my thinking really is that we would set up the scheme, put it out there on social media and elsewhere and say, this is on offer, and see what comes in then. Who's bidding for what? Can I just come
No,
back?
sorry, I thought we'd done
No. And we would also, the other thing is about, you know, because the decoration of those other trees, excluding Holmfirth and Honley, which where there's already arrangements anyway in place, would be down to the community. So the actual but that's what happens currently with quite a number of the villages anyway. The next bit, of course, is about the electricity supply, the power connection for people having lights. And that becomes a little bit more complicated, and I think we're going to have to do some work on how we can access
Yes,
advice.
Mrs Smith next to the village green could come in with a big bill, couldn't she?
Well, quite. Just plug it in there. So we're going to have to look at that in a bit more detail. I've got some ideas, but we might have to talk to Kirklees officers about that, about how we can deal with that. And then ultimately, if we do go for a grants-based system, again, we'll be very much bearing in mind something that where we can minimise bureaucracy going forward beyond this year. So that's the broad framework for it, if you like. Did you want to say something?
Well, I was going to ask now, and Alison may say, no, you can't, on the green issue, but is it worthwhile trying to encourage people to plant a Christmas tree that will grow at home? I know they're not native, and I know we're not supposed to plant not native species, but
I think Andrew Cooper's looking into that for nuisance, so I'll ask him on
Yeah.
Thursday.
Welcome. Welcome any input.
because if we could get every village having a permanent tree in 10
Yeah.
years' time, we won't be
It's
growing them to cut them down to.
Councillor Dixon.
So the main trees as part of the scheme, would you suggest we just have Holmfirth and Honley? Or would we keep with the new mill and Brockhall's trees as well, Waldale?
I'm going to suggest, I mean, we can come back to this, you know, look at individual villages and so on. I think the answer to that question, in my mind, is no. We're not looking at them now. And if I look at Brockhall's, for example, where they ended up with two trees.
Two trees?
Well, one from Kirklees, and then one outside the rock, that was probably a lot more elaborate.
Did they provide the road at the rock?
Is my understanding.
No, it's
So I, you know, there are all I'll say at this moment is there are possibilities for rationalising this.
okay.
Councillor Grant.
I'd just like to make the point that in terms of climate emergency that we're supposed to consider in all our decisions, we should be going towards less trees and yes, permanent ones would be a really good suggestion. I'd also like to suggest that in terms of lighting, if people are applying to us for funds for lighting, can we not restrict it from 1st of December through to 12th of May, rather than going on like 10th of November?
Great idea.
1st of December to 6th of January.
That's right, we'll Well,
Well, that's a month of electricity, isn't it?
I mean, it might be a question as to whether we actually control that and dictate it, or whether we actually encourage.
well, yeah, I mean, but if people are applying through a bid process coming to us, we could say that as a requirement.
Okay.
Would we do that? I mean, Holmfirth and Honley have for a long time switched theirs on fairly early in November. Are we going to say you're not allowed to anymore? Or,
Well, if they want funding from us,
yeah,
it could be a condition. I
yeah.
mean, there's lots of things that have been done for the last 50 years that aren't good for the environment,
Yes.
that we're trying to encourage people to change.
And the
And this
businesses
is a
want chickens to come in, but they'll come in December.
This is a relative,
Councillor Ryder.
I guess you just said what I was going to say. But I'm not saying whether I agree or disagree, but I think there'll be a lot of businesses that would like lights to come on in November, because then people come in to see the lights and then they go to the shops, etc. So I'm just saying, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, I'm just saying that businesses will probably want the lights on in November rather than December.
Could I say that we'll take this on, because we'll come back with firmer proposals, and I'm very much take that on board and come back and see if we can debate it then again at that point. Is that okay?
yeah.
I'd also suggest with trees that it doesn't have to be a Christmas tree. You know, if you go to Manchester, they put lights on the street trees and they look beautiful.
Yeah.
And in fact, they did that in Huddersfield, didn't they, outside the station? They put the light, they didn't have a Christmas tree, but they put lights in the trees around, and we don't need a Christmas tree.
They look better than a Christmas tree, in my personal opinion.
Yeah.
That one at Berry Brow, well, in fact, the one in Honley stands at an angle on it. The one in the park that Kirklees gives, there's a permanent one, it's growing at an angle. It looks terrible.
It's the Christmas tree that has big barriers around the bottom.
Yeah.
I just think, what is the point?
And the one at Berry Brow that everybody drives past, and you think, dear, oh dear.
Shall we talk about this then as a sort of public space decorations rather than necessarily just Christmas trees?
Yes,
It,
yes.
it might be one, and then we're given the choice as well. to
Yes.
people. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I would like to insist that they use them and light them at Christmas. I don't want them put up for July Imbolc Festival.
Oh, what have you got against Imbolc?
Nothing, but you know, they're
It's also
Christmas
like-
trees.
Not for Diwali.
Diwali or night? No, Christmas tree.
That's
Sorry,
just
that's
really
what
big.
it is.
The argument is also it's light pollution, so that insects and birds don't like lights on all the time.
Yeah.
It's not kind.
No, and I know that was being looked at with the pathway on Sands actually in respect to exactly that. In principle, is that okay
Yeah,
if we move forward on that and come back with
Yeah,
a
sounds good.
proposal?
yeah.
Is that okay? Is that right, Kim?
Not quite sure where you're wanting, but what,
The proposals in the
yeah, I mean, I think, you know, are you ruling out using the Kirklees trees, bearing in mind they are very much more expensive than they were, and there were quite a lot of complaints about the quality of the lights, so I'm sort of trying to, if you're happy to have
Do
a
we have to
grant.
make that decision at this one? Can we not come back to
I
it?
don't think we're ruling that out, are we?
The Waldale, the Christmas tree lights at Waldale were,
Off. They were off for a lot of
well, they were very disappointing, let's put it like
I
that.
think the other part of the answer to your question is, in some places, if they're going to plant a tree, it'll be a little while before it's a village feature, won't it? I know if it's a pine, they grow quickly, but you know, they'll need a Christmas tree in the meantime if they're planting a special tree in a special place, for instance.
That's a Dixon.
The tree we had in Unil been really good the last few years, but we have had bad ones before. And I think that's just how it is. I'd say like every year, 1 out of 5 or 6 is going to be a bit rubbish. It's how it's come off the truck, or how it's grown, or whatever it is, or also depends on the weather and how it is. Well, that's 6 ain't bad. Once one was bad, next year it might be really good.
The one in
That's what I'm trying to
Leicester
say.
Square last year was rubbish. It had great, huge, bald patches and
It's bad for a place, isn't it? There's that one comes from Norway as well
Yeah.
every year, yeah. Look at what the climate footprint of that one comes from Norway.
Can I just, I'll make one point, and I'll make this point purely simply because I helped put the Homley lights up.
Yes, you do.
Right? Having a permanent Christmas tree is a nice idea, but who's going to put lights on it? Because the trees in Homley, we have to put half the lights on before the tree's put up. Because you don't want people going up ladders to try and get to the top of the tree. So that's a good idea. Once your tree gets above a certain height,
good thinking.
you're not going to put lights on it anymore because you can't get up there to do it. All sorts of things. Which is why we do the trees in Holland. We do half of them on the ground and then lift it up and slot it into place, and then you do the bottom half very easily.
You could just have the bottom half of it.
Well, you could just have lights around the bottom half of it. I'm not saying you should.
Or just have
And I am all for a permanent tree. I think it would be a really good idea, but there are logistical things to think about. That my personal view is the big hit on the money is the Kirklees trees, isn't it? Those are the 3 trees that take up the bulk of the money.
I could
No,
also,
it's more than 3.
Yeah.
I could also suggest, you know, thinking of Homley, you know, they have the little trees sticking out of the flagpoles.
Yeah.
It looks much nicer if you just do a swag. Because when you do it around the Christmas tree, you get this funny hieroglyph, don't you?
Yeah, well, yeah, there's a debatable. The point is we've bought all the lights now. so if you look around the tree, you end up with a load of lights that just sit in a container. And
In the
never
short
used.
term, we're sticking with what we're doing.
We'll make it work.
Go round the corner.
So
I think.
But you know what I mean, that you,
Yeah.
there are ways to make it look lovely, that don't have to be.
I think that the point I would make is if we're encouraging an area to do it themselves, there's more than just the electricity
Yes.
side of it.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, that's a very important fact. You've got to get some electricity to the
Yeah.
trade. It's got to be safe, etc., etc.
Mm.
But there are also things about has that community really got enough people to put the
Yeah.
stuff in once we, if we buy some lights and buy a tree, have they got the people to
Have they got a lamp?
Well, there's quite a few villages that have
Yeah,
managed to do
absolutely.
that.
Absolutely.
You know, home villages, you know.
Yeah. I mean, Honley's a little bit on the there's a lot of lights up in Honley, but it takes a group of nearly 20 volunteers 2 weeks to do it. Not 20 volunteers every night, people rotate, so people aren't available every night, but it takes that long to do it, and I do agree with turn on the lights far too early. But what they're trying to do is distinguish between the light switch on and the Christmas markets. They try and have two separate events because that gets more money and all the rest of it, so that's the reason it's done, and it's just timing really. And try not to conflict with Home Firth and other light switch on.
There's a big range of discussion going on here. I could bring back to the meeting in July a sort of range of proposals which will range from, you know, only providing money for planted trees right through to, you know, getting people to apply for grants for the erection of lit trees and so forth. But I'm just warning you, there's going to be to embrace all ends of the spectrum of views here. That's a wide range of proposals.
I think the likelihood, the thing we could probably work with is kind of go for straightforward cut trees next year and work out how much they'll cost and how we distribute them and all the rest, and give, because we don't have a time deadline to how do we get permanent ones up that can be decorated and is there a solution and that sort of thing. Which is, but we do want trees next Christmas. Well, I think we all want trees next
Councillor
Christmas.
Dixon.
I found it's a bit of a minefield. This is, and we have tried to change it quite a few times before. Or quite a few people have been ambitious. I'm going to change this for next Christmas and do all that. And we end up just going solid. Let's go with the easy option. Don't please and with the other trees. It's not necessarily the best option and the best way to do it. And if we do try and change it and do it differently, there's bound to be some people that complain and kick off at Christmas about it because things are different and it's not what they wanted it and stuff like that. But I'm not saying it's the best way to kind of just not do anything, but we would be brave to try and change it, and it could be good and better in the long term. It might be worth actually trying to consult with the Home Firth Christmas team and with Honley people that
I was thinking.
Home Firth Christmas team and Rachel Honley, who was involved before, who was on the council with me for numerous years. Excellent councillor, brilliant with stuff like this, and sorting all Christmas tree lights out in Home Firth, which were rubbish before, and we're good now. It might be worth liaising and then see
I
what
was thinking exactly the same thing. I'm happy to do that, or wait till Jan gets back from it. To have that those conversations and say, look, you know, we're all hoping for the same thing in the end.
They're ideal.
How can we best make
We'll
it
work with them
happen?
guys on money and stuff like that, but proper minefield.
Okay. Well, I feel brave.
I think that's brilliant,
Yeah.
but I also think we should be brave and say climate emergency.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, that's part of the discussion, not just how cheaply can you do it,
Yeah.
how many people volunteers have you got, but what could you see your way to changing to make it better.
And if Honley doesn't have put all its lights up next year, you'll have some spare for you, you know, they'll last longer if you don't put them up.
Less is more.
Guys, I'm conscious
We're
of
going
the
to end
time.
up with one red light on a lamp post in each village.
That's fine.
Very sad children.
Have a quick look through.
listen to
I
you.
know,
Just
it's
sounding
55.
down. Why really wondering, because the main title is the
Well, there's just one other item that's on the agenda that we do need to.
Yeah,
It's
sure.
fairly quick. So this is item number
91,
91 on
defibrillators. I'm bringing it up because it's becoming a bit of a live issue, I think, through the Home Valley. So I have been researching basic information regarding defibrillators. I will report more on this on Monday the 8th of July. The situation, as if I just give you the facts as I know them now, so Home Valley Parish Council paid for and owns, if you like, the defibrillator outside of the civic and outside of the public toilets. Okay, those are our defibrillators, and we've got an EMR with money for defibrillators, and there will be maintenance costs associated with them. So, for example, I've just learned today that the battery for the public toilets one will need replacing, okay, and I will need to find out how much that's going to cost. In that can come out of the EMR, which would have to go to the full council meeting anyway. That's all fine. But I'm also, just today, I've got another report saying, there is a problem with the defibrillator at, I have to remember where it is. Right, okay, defibrillator needs replacing in the home village defibrillator, which I think was set up by the police with some funding from Home Valley Parish Councillor. And I've just had an email. Can you advise if the council will fund the replacement battery so the defibrillator is available again? Because of when a lot of the defibrillators were put in, a lot of them are now coming to the end of their battery life and needing things replacing. You've got that EMR for defibrillators. In no way what's in there will cover the defibrillator replacement parts needs of the Home Valley. Can you give me some direction over this?
I think when they got them before, the different areas, when we've given funding before, fill in the grant form. So I would advise the Home Village Association or whoever it is to fill in a grant request form, and then we could do that for them. They own the defibrillator, but we will provide funds for them to purchase it, and then if they need maintenance, they can maintain it themselves or ask us. Or they can do their own fundraising as well to help do that. It's going to cost a certain amount, because if we're going to buy everywhere a defibrillator, it's going to cost a lot of money. So I think we need to fill in a grant request form, but we also need to think about what's in the budget. Because what's in the budget at the moment? How much is the
It's
battery cost?
only enough really for our own.
I think it's about, I want to say 2,000.
2,000, I think.
And how much is a battery about?
Yeah.
It's probably about 1,000.
£190.
Blimey!
On eBay.
Well, no, it's because Honley are trying to raise money for the defibrillators in the village. So the defibrillators are £990, the cabinet is £585, the pads are £60 annually or every time they're used, and the batteries are £190 and it should be replaced every 5 years.
Okay.
That's what they do. So I'm only going by those figures.
It does sort of fit into the asset grants, doesn't it? But the issue is, I suppose, is these are going to come in as people need them. Our grants process is, two spots in the year.
Yeah.
So that's an awful long time to wait between now and September.
We're meant to be more flexible with these things, and these are really important. So if something does come in for these, it's a bit different,
we
isn't it?
break the rule quite often for things that are urgent.
Yeah, and you don't get much more urgent than a defibrillator, because if it's not working, when somebody needs it, they can die, can't they?
Then it's better not to have one if it isn't working.
No, that's
You
right.
mentioned £190 as well, and they'll also be fitting of the battery as well. because that'll have to be done by somebody who's qualified to do it. So that's probably another
I think
100 on.
paramedics.
Sorry, can I just, Councillor Ransby's been waiting for something.
Sorry, I'll give you that.
It's all right.
Very polite.
One, do we know how many defibrillators we're talking about and what are the expiry dates?
30th, wasn't it?
Over 30.
But we don't own them.
No, we only own two.
Two or
Who
three?
owns them?
2, I think.
Oh, two.
Various
Different
bodies
people in
decided
different
it was
places.
I mean, Cartwell Cricket Club, which I'm on the management committee, we have one.
Mm.
So, I mean, from my point of view, it is our responsibility.
Mm.
Yes.
Mm.
If that, when that battery runs out, which I think, my memory serves me right, it's going to be in the region of 2-3 years' time, the club will have to replace it. And I don't see why we should come to the parish council to say, oh, we need a couple £100 for a new battery.
And the boot and shoe are going through that process at the moment, raising money
You know,
themselves. Yeah.
I think that should be our policy, because why should it be our responsibility as the parish council, or should it be the NHS, or NHS England, or Care Police, or national government's responsibility?
Must admit, I was surprised to know that it wasn't NHS.
One of the exclusions we have already on grants from the document we made about 2 years ago is things that are provided by statutory bodies and health.
Did you want to clarify something?
I think some of these organisations come back to us because we gave grants for the purchase of the defibrillator in the first place. So I think they.
But the grant is a one-off thing.
Yeah, I know.
You
What's the
know,
rider?
The what home
Yeah,
builders
I
actually.
think,
Home
I think
builders
if people
are
apply for a grant to have a battery, then I think we seriously consider it. But I don't think we should be keeping money aside with a view to buying all of the batteries. And as Steve was saying, a lot of organisations will just deal with it themselves.
I mean,
It's not a huge amount of money, is it?
you know, I
Do you
thought,
think we should seriously consider it outside of the site, in other words, bring it forward if it's an urgent need?
if it's our,
I guess we've done that before, but I don't know.
I don't think you're right. Once word gets out that we're giving money for batteries, everybody will apply, and that's almost guaranteed.
Yeah.
And therefore we do have to earmark amounts of money. We have to estimate how many will ask and earmark how much money we need. We can't just, and if we say, once we say yes to one body, we are in effect saying, right, that's a precedent. We can't say we will give to Cartworth, but we won't give to
No, I think it would have to be within the sort of.
So we either say we give to everybody who asks, who makes a reasonable case, or we give to none.
Anyone else? I'm conscious of the time. I mean, please do speak, but let's keep it
I've been
in time.
listening to Councillor Collin. I propose that we don't give grants for property that other organisations own. We just maintain the two that we have.
Yeah, I'll second that. I'd also say as well that if people want a new one and asked about a new one, put a grant request in, that'd be a bit different.
Yes.
But once we buy them for you, that's yours to maintain and to look after,
Yeah.
and you have to have your own budget for it, I suppose.
I mean,
Should make that clear, I think.
in view of the fact that £200 is not an inconsiderate sum, but, you know, it's a sum that is raisable over a 5-year period. You know, at first I thought we were going to hear that they cost £1,000 plus.
But if we went
And
30,
you thought, well, £200.
I think
Yeah,
it's the
you've got
battery is
5
the
years to
pads
raise
separately.
yeah, but there's pads as well, and
Yeah.
you said they were, was it 16?
They need
£60
replacing
Every year.
every time they use. It's
So it says annually or with each
Yeah.
defibrillator use, so you need changing after every use, and then I think they change annually if it's not used.
if we spend 30 new batteries, that's 6,000, and we're doing that every 5 years and various things. It does add up, doesn't it?
It's not our, I don't think it's the remit of the parish council. I think you're right, if people want to set one up, we should help them with the initial cost, if they apply.
But not the rent.
But I don't think we can take on the responsibility of providing a medical service. I do not think it's what we do.
I'm wondering how much this should be FNN anyway. because if people do come with a grant application,
Well,
they
if,
will go to F&M.
it'll be us for the two we own,
Mm.
and F&M for all the others,
Yeah.
won't it?
Yeah.
Right, so to sort of swing it round a bit then, I think what you are resolving is that any applications from other organisations regarding replacement parts for DFIBs should just be part of the normal F&M asset grant process and not come to this committee.
And then F&M can make a decision about whether or not, in principle, it's going to give to anybody at all.
Yeah, so that's that bit, and then the other bit then is resolving that, you know, regarding the DFIBs we own, to, you know, recommend to council money out of the EMR, because that's what I'll need for.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to come to us if the battery needs replacing for the two that we own. It should just be done without having to come to committee. That's
Should
what
go
it
to
should
that
be.
side.
Yeah.
However, we
But
need to.
it's an
The sooner
EMR.
that Mr. Zero
Yeah.
Not budget.
It is 11.95, not.
Yeah.
I'm bringing it into.
Did you say you can't catch your breath? I'm afraid you're going to have to wait for a subcommittee.
I'm going to bring this meeting to a close, sorry, it's gone on past 9:30. Thank you. Pat or Tom, you know, there's some things to sign here, some